Y'all are going back to school this week, and I am feeling nostalgic. You are in college right now. This is what I want you to know. Starting off strong. If you don't know your passion, just choose the coolest direction you can think of. This is how I went about choosing my major. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to study, but I saw that my dad was very happy with his job and he was an engineer. So then I chose the path of engineering. And then one thing led to another. And this kind of leads into my second point. I ended up where I am now, which is where I work on spaceflight hardware, and I'm an EMT on the side, and I'm directing my career into spaceflight medicine. And the second thing I'll say is everything looks linear looking at it retrospectively. Everybody's career, when they come to you at career fairs, when they give you talks, when alumni come to give you talks, like we put it all into a very nice, clean story of I did aerospace engineering and then I took space medicine and biology. That's where I developed my bioastronautics interest. And so that's why I did the master's degree. So that's why I did the Mars analog mission. And so that's why I became an EMT because we did medical stuff. And it seems very linear, right? But what I have found is that even through living all that, you're really only taking baby steps. And there's a Rumi quote that illustrates this perfectly. And it's as you start to walk along the way appears. And so that's to say, all you got to do is take baby steps. Nothing that you choose at 18 is going to set your life in stone. I am 26 and I have really found what I'm interested in only, I would say, in the last 2-ish years. There was no way when I was 18 starting undergrad at Purdue that I knew what I was going to get into. All I saw was a path that I thought was cool objectively. I didn't even think that it was something that I could do, become an astronaut, but I just thought it was cool. And I saw my dad be really happy at his job. So I was like, I'm just going to do engineering. When people look back and talk about their career, it sounds a lot more organized than it actually was. So all you have to do is take the next best step, take the next little baby step towards what you want to do. And that's what I would say. Like, if you don't know what you want to study, if you're questioning your major, just think about what's the coolest thing you can picture somebody doing, not necessarily even yourself. And then over time, listen to that voice inside you that's telling you, okay, do I really like this? Do I not? And listen to that voice deep inside of you. But to just pick, I think it's always good to be on some kind of path and then pivot from that, pivot from whatever direction you have, than to be on no path at all. I also tried several things during school. I was in the marching band for 3 weeks. I got in, I marched the first football game, and then I quit that because it was too much to handle with assignments. I tried different clubs. I tried the Rocket Club. I tried this electric car club, and it also wasn't for me. So I tried those things. They didn't stick. And while I would recommend finding something that you can stick with from freshman year all the way to senior year, because at least if you're in the field of STEM and engineering, they value you being part of a team and making a meaningful contribution. So I would say if you can get into a club that does interest you as a freshman and you do have the interest to stay in it through all 4 years, there is value in that. I ended up taking a different route. I started working while I was in school. So that was kind of like the time I'd allocate towards clubs. It was actually just towards my job, which was working actually in the same exact engineering group that I work in right now. I got this job after my sophomore year. And then you can also ask yourself not only just what you think the coolest thing is, but also what did you gravitate towards as a kid? I was always making videos. Like if you're part of my family, you know I was always making some kind of video with my friends or I was interviewing my sister. So I've always loved this kind of storytelling. Like I love, I have my career pursuits and I also just really love telling stories and love sharing advice and everything. So also think about if if the thinking about something cool doesn't resonate with you, you could also think about, okay, what have I always done as a kid? And I really think in another life, I would have gone into something like journalism or video production or something because I just really love the concept of sharing stories through visual media. So now I just do that for fun in my free time. Okay, something I learned after several semesters is use the first month wisely. Guys, August through mid September is not that hard. Use it to get ahead. I think we can get caught up in the football games and going out and having fun because, oh, we don't have a lot of homework and we don't have the first exam yet for like 5 weeks. What I learned is to get ahead during that month. Get ahead on math lectures. Get ahead on your chemistry homework. Just watch lectures ahead if they're pre-recorded. Just work ahead because, girl, when the first exam starts, I felt like everything just accelerated. I felt like the semester accelerated through. It was not a linear, it was not a y equals mx plus b equation. It was like y equals ax. Like it was just exponentially rising. And so this is one of the most practical things that I developed over time. And I remember one time, even one summer, the summer after my freshman year, I was going to take linear algebra and then another math class that fall of my sophomore year, and I found the linear algebra lectures before from an old year, and I watched and studied all the way up to the first exam for linear algebra. And I think it was like the only math class that I actually felt really confident going into the first exam with, and I got an A in linear algebra because of it. So definitely take advantage of that time, because as we often talk about here, time is our most precious resource. And if you can use it to get ahead on the material, use it. Your future self will thank you. You always got to be thinking, what is your future self going to be thanking you for? If you're taking something like organic chemistry, you can watch Khan Academy videos. If you're taking biology, MIT has an open courseware of a whole pre-biology course. There's so many resources online, especially nowadays. Just watch some YouTube videos. Like if you can't get the specific topic that you're going to be doing, the thing about undergrad is it's a lot of core foundational concepts. It's like the basics of physics, basics of chemistry, calculus. It is the most fundamental root. And any of those really fundamental sciences, there's going to be so many resources online. And all you have to do is learn a certain body of knowledge. Like every time you go into a class, there's a certain set amount of body of knowledge that you need to learn. And so a lot of those basic science classes, your basic math classes, you can learn on your own. And trust me, it will be a GPA boost. If you're in a program like mine where the first year you're just a general admit and you actually have to apply again, like it's a really good way to start, because for some reason your GPA goes down so fast and it barely goes up. So try to keep it high and set yourself up into a good position to keep it high, as high as you can your whole time in college, instead of getting down low and then trying to work your way back up because you were just having too much fun during your freshman year. Next is take care of yourself. Take care of your body. Take care of your mind. Guys, I probably took like average 300 steps a day during the thick of Purdue. I was so painfully sedentary, and I can't blame 19-year-old Anya. She had her little signals and dynamics and propulsion and thermodynamics to do. I get her, but she does not know what I know now. And I'm imparting this on you because I know this now. I know the importance of physical health for your mental health. I was so anxious in college, and I will bring up more specific instances why later, but I would just eat fast food all the time. And I would also just not come to class in a way that made me feel like my best self. I find that when you actually put some effort into how you present yourself, the reason why it's important is it affects how you feel, and therefore it affects how you act and how you show up in the world. Like if you're confident in some way, you are actually, I have found that I am more confident when I am collaborating with other students. And I mean, nowadays, my coworkers, like if I feel good about that I have taken some time for myself that morning and look put together, and that meet, because what that translates to is that you have taken time and you're not rushing. You've taken the time to plan out what you're going to do, and everything doesn't feel so rushed and chaotic. And then you're in more of a headspace to say, also just realized I was, didn't have the mic there. So you're in more of a headspace to be like, okay, I'm confident in myself. And confidence can start on the outside and then work its way in. That inner confidence is there. Sometimes just this outside appearance and putting some effort into that brings it out. It's a form of self-love and self-expression when you take the time to get dressed properly and go out. That's something I would do. I'd put a little bit more effort into my outward appearance. What I would have done practically is I would have created myself a uniform. I literally would have gone on Amazon and bought like 3 of the same shirt in different colors and then a couple pairs of pants, or like I would buy dress pants because they look nice, but they can feel like sweatpants. And that's my biggest life hack now when I want to look nice at when I'm in the office is dress pants that feel like sweatpants and then a comfortable shirt on top. Boom, you're put together. Simple. Like we want to keep it simple because obviously our brain is on all of the homework and all the tasks that we need to do. So if you can simplify it, create yourself a little uniform before the semester starts. That's what I would have done. And then I would have taken less clothes to school, less things to move. And I think I would have felt more prepared and confident, ready for each day that I was there, instead of pulling up every day, looking a mess, and then trying to expect somehow that I was going to perform my best work when I hadn't even taken the time to take care of myself mentally or physically, and I didn't move my body. That's definitely something I would have changed in college, and I definitely encourage anyone in school to incorporate some kind of physical movement into your days. Okay, next is to appreciate the fact that you have a community of people around you that are the same age as you. This is something we've been accustomed to pretty much our whole lives. We are always in school with a similar age demographic. We're all going through similar life experiences together. And college is really one of the last times that you get from like 18 to 22 thousands of people in the same place. And there's this concept of the third space, where the first space is your home, the second space is your work or your school or the class, the actual lecture hall. And then there's what's called the third space, which is the space in between where people congregate, where you make little conversation with your friends. Right before the lecture starts, you're catching up with your friends. It's that community feel. And it's harder to do that after college in some of the places, at least in the US, that I've lived, because think about it. You are now integrating with a population that is in various life stages. You are now interfacing with people at work who have families who are 40 years old and have 3 kids. They're just in a different state of life. They're in a different stage of life than you, a different mindset than you. And I never really took the time to appreciate that I was surrounded by all people going through something similar as me, and what a sense of community that felt. And just taking that moment to appreciate, wow, this could be temporary. And you have to become a lot more deliberate about that when you grow up, because everybody gets a little bit more individualized. We go into our own families. We segregate ourselves a little bit more. I mean, think about how we live. Before, we lived in dorms. It's very communal. And then everybody gets their own apartment. And that's a sign of growing up, is you get your own apartment and then your own house and everything, but it's very secluded. And so I think I would have appreciated more and just and I think I can look at colleges now, and that's why I love going to campuses now, because I can just I still feel connected to that community, and I'm like, oh wow, like we're all here, we're all studying, we're all doing this. What a sense of community that is. And to appreciate that before everybody starts working full time, and you have to be a lot more deliberate about that, or else it doesn't happen. And everybody's going through the first internships, first relationships. There's something about that community. You're working with them in terms of you're doing schoolwork with them, you're going to class with them, and then at night you hang out with them and they're your friends as well. There's just something really romantic about that. Like how people just become they see all the parts of your life, versus at work, sometimes you have people that only see you in your work mode. And then you have friends that only see you in your free time mode. And it's cool when you can have any time in life, somebody be able to see you for the whole person that you are, and also be going through the same thing with you, and they can relate to you. So I would just appreciate that more if I was still in undergrad. It's not to say that adult life is necessarily lonely. It's just that everybody starts to get their own things going on. We all start diverging paths. And I think it's very interesting and fun to see where everybody's path goes. But the point is everybody's paths do diverge, and you're left with a much smaller group of people after college than you did before, in my experience and the experience of a lot of my friends. Next is a serious one, that no grade is worth your integrity. Now, I was alluding to this at the beginning. So I was caught up in 2 academic instances in my undergrad. And the first was I cheated on a syllabus quiz. And then the second was I cheated on an engineering assignment. Now, looking back, the reasons that I did it are I was overwhelmed and I wanted to get the task done. And I very intensely learned to not do that because the anxiety that that situation imparted on me for the next couple of years was real. I was worried about getting caught long after there was something to be caught for. And I would just recommend that even when the schoolwork gets really challenging and you have a lot on your plate, nothing is worth being on academic probation. Take it from somebody who has. I definitely learned the importance of following academic integrity from those instances early in my college career. Because those instances can have really real effects on the next things that you apply to. Luckily, I finished the probationary period. It was fine. I moved on with my life, but it was a time where I was very anxious and it could have been avoided. Yes, I could have gotten a worse grade on the assignment, but in hindsight, it would have been worth that versus the anxiety and just stress that I felt from being on academic probation. And I take that with me now when it comes to driving, for example. I will not be a hectic driver because I would rather get somewhere safe and late than something happen because I'm rushing. And I learned that lesson from this case. I'm like, I'd rather just do the right thing, even if the consequences are not ideal, and try to improve it for next time. Like try to leave the house earlier. Or try to start the homework earlier or something so that you're not even caught up in that situation. Okay, next is recognizing what a privilege it is to be able to go to college. Now, this is something I definitely did not appreciate until long after I finished my Purdue degree, was what a blessing and a privilege it was to be able to go there. Now, I thank my parents so much because for me, being able to go to an out-of-state school just seemed normal. Like I could pick any school to go to, and that was just normal. And the more I've grown up and now I'm managing all my own finances, I'm thinking, wow, that is not the norm. I am so grateful that I had that opportunity. And so I would have been more, I would have knowing what I know now, I would have been more grateful for just being able to be there and being able to pick the school that I wanted to go to. And an instance stands out to me in particular when one of my good friends and I were in class together, and girl, I would doze off all the time. I was not sleeping that much. I was staying up late doing homework. My sleep schedule was all out of whack, and I'm so sorry to this professor, but I would fall asleep in his class. I was talking with my friend and he said something along the lines of, wow, like, can you imagine that some people don't do their homework and they just kind of try to get by without putting in effort when we pay so much for classes? And immediately in that moment, I was like, pay for classes? Like that thought hadn't crossed my young mind. I was like, my tuition just gets paid for. And I started recognizing in the moment, like, whoa, like this is not the reality for everybody, that their tuition just gets paid. Like they have to work and support themselves and pay their own tuition. And it was like a light bulb moment for me of like, wow, it's a rarity to be able to go there. So I think, I would just have shown more gratitude for being able to be there, and if you get to go to any school, it's such a blessing. And if you have financial support, it's a blessing because college in the US is very expensive, and then add on all the additional experiences that you want to have. And if you want to have a car there and if you want to live somewhere nice, that all adds up. And to just be more grateful for my parents in the moment for everything that they did, even before I was a sentient human, to be able to set myself up for that. Next is to study abroad if you can. I feel like my life started when I study abroad. When I went on study abroad, I feel there is an empowerment you get from realizing that you can navigate yourself in a whole other country. If you can go somewhere where they don't speak English, I think I think that's better. But I will say just go anywhere. Like go anywhere, go experience something, even if it's for a couple weeks. Like just go experience something else outside the norm. Why? Because you see the world through your lens, through your bias that's shaped around the society around you. When you go to a new country, you realize that other people have completely different systems of living, such as not using a car for transport. And basically, you see that your ways of living aren't the default. And you can live their kind of life if you want to. Like, I love living in Paris and not needing a car and going around the metro and seeing these iconic places in the world. And it gives you just a depth. And when you're 18, 19, 20, it's such a cool experience to be able to get out of your country and be able to go experience something different if you can. Now, I know there's a lot of financial barriers to that, but I would say even if there's some kind of experience you can go on, I don't think it's wasted at all. I think it's only enriching because even if you don't like the place, at least it's a new place in the world that you've discovered and experienced. And it's such a good way because you're still under the umbrella of school and protection of a university, and it's still structured in that way. So you're not just completely thrown out to be on your own, but at the same time, it is more independence than you've ever gotten. Very much encourage it to anybody in undergrad if you have the opportunity. The next is to work hard and that you might be more grateful for it than you would expect. School was difficult and we did a lot of homeworks and a lot of projects. And I feel that it really did set me up well for the ways of thinking that I needed as an adult. The main one being that sometimes I see a problem and I don't know how I'm going to figure it out. But what college taught me was that I was gonna find a way to figure it out, specifically engineering. I can only speak for engineering. And even I use that approach for life admin problems. If I need to get my car registered or I need to figure out a leasing issue with my apartment, I have been through so many homework problems where I was like, I don't know what this means, and worked my way through it to where, again, I gained confidence that I could solve a difficult problem. And so be willing to work very hard. Be willing to grind and just do it because you're practicing that muscle. That college is the time to build that muscle of being able to just sit there and study for an exam all day and then go out and get 76% on it. We need the grind. You need to instill the grind in yourself because it pays off. Have fun, go out, get the experience that you want, whatever it is. And also, don't be afraid to work hard. Don't be afraid to be the person that's in the library sitting, grinding it out. Even if you're there just because it takes you more times to work through the problem. I think it really cemented that muscle in me to just be able to keep going, which is something I always say. And it was definitely instilled in me at my time at Purdue in undergrad. Next is to aim ridiculously high. Before starting college, my dream school was Stanford. And spoiler alert, I did not make it into Stanford. But because I aimed for Stanford, I was able to get into the program I did. And I think I instilled that, I took the ACT 8 times. I just had this desire to go after it. And I aimed really high and I did not get Stanford, but I've taken that lesson with me really deeply throughout life. It's just like aim really high. Aim really high, work towards something big. And if you are, either you're going to achieve what you want or you're going to land a lot higher than what you first aimed to achieve. If you aim lower, you might end up lower. But if you aim really high, you might end up still in a really good spot. That's why a huge goal can still be really valuable, even if you don't hit the target, because it's really about the pursuit of it. Finally, I want to say that it's okay if college is hard. I do not want this nostalgia to rewrite the story of college. The best way I can describe it is undergrad was the best of times and the worst of times. I'll start with the worst because of my anxiety, because towards the end, the last month of school, I was just sick, just with like a bad cold for a month straight because I did not take care of my health. It was the best because of the life path that it gave me and the space biology and medicine course I took and the friendships I have, like Dominic and Shelby and Connor, who I hold really near and dear to my heart. And I know I could text them anytime because we were in there together. We were in there doing it together. And it's and Will and so many other people, that I'm so grateful to have met there. And a lot more people that are coming to my head right now. The relationships, it's always about the people. I just encourage you to know that sometimes the only way out is through. That's something that my mom and I used to say when the work just got so hard and so much. The only way out is through. Like, just take it one course at a time. Try to get ahead on everything that you can and just get through it and try to enjoy it as much as you can. But it's okay if it's not sunshine and rainbows all the time, because it definitely was not for me, and I can still look back on it with this immense nostalgia and gratitude that I have for it now. So, for everybody going back to school this semester, I hope that you just enjoy the campus vibe, make it vibey. If it's hard, like if your homework is hard, at least you can go and study in a place that really inspires you and is pretty, like a coffee shop, or try to romanticize it as much as you can, even if you don't like the specific subject that you're working on. And know that a lot of those fundamental classes are so that you can get into more of the interesting classes. But college is so good for building that base. It's such a cool place to learn what all the fundamentals of our world is. Like, it's so cool learning fundamental biology, chemistry, physics, math, because that's what everything else in our world is built upon. And so just take the opportunity. Like, you get to go to college. Like, if you get to go to college, that is such a blessing. And no matter where you go, like, just being able to get education and have that experience, because you can go anywhere with that. Like, you can start somewhere and end a completely different place as long as you keep taking those baby steps along your way. So, good luck this semester, and I will surely see you next Tuesday. Bye.